Okay, well stay with us, Tim, because actually joining us now is Sarah Graham from the drug charity Frank. Hello to you, Sarah. We've just been talking to Tim there at some length about heroin and what it does to people for them to want to go out onto the streets to sell their body in order to get enough money to feed their habit. Why do you think it is?
Well, what you're dealing with here is you're dealing with a physical dependency. Heroin, creates a physical dependency in people. If they don't take it, they literally get sick. And so they have to take it on a daily basis once they've developed a habit. If they're combining it with crack cocaine is a highly psychologically addictive substance. So the two together create a drive that is absolutely overpowering. It's not a question of willpower, it's a question of needing to have this drug when the person's in active addiction.
Okay, I think I lost you for a second there, Sarah, but I think you're probably back with me now. Do you think it's the fact that the girls get addicted to drugs and then they go onto the streets to sell their bodies in order to fund that habit, or is it the other way around?
What you have to realise about addiction is it's a progressive illness. Many of these girls probably have experienced some kind of trauma in their childhood or growing up. You don't just suddenly decide that you want to go onto the streets and sell your body. It's kind of like an end stage. People kind of get into the addiction. Maybe it starts off in their early teens with maybe cannabis, alcohol, and the illness progresses. When it progresses to the stage that they start using heroin and cocaine on a daily basis, then obviously it's a very serious addiction. Obviously with young girls as well, you've got the issue that they are prey to men. Within prostitution, often these girls are being controlled by a very dominant, powerful man who may actually be their drug supplier. So they're in a horrible, horrible situation. Being a heroin and a crack addict is bad enough, but being on the streets having to sell your body, that's a very powerless, very vulnerable situation. These girls obviously don't want to be out there doing this, knowing that there's a murderer on the streets, but the addiction is driving them out there, and I think that just shows how powerful addiction is.
Yeah, indeed. So Tim Morton from Pontypool in Wales, former heroin addict, as we've been describing you, Tim. What do you think it is about heroin that makes those girls, perhaps many of them tonight as well, who will go out and risk death, being strangled by this nutcase, whoever he might be, in order to fund their habit?
Well, the explanation you've just heard is a somewhat clinical, perhaps, way of putting the urgency that the compulsion that you feel. It's the thought of, for all those girls, and it's not just in Ipswich obviously, but for all the people who are in that position today, the thought of them not having anything to use today and spending the night cold turkey or clucking or rattling, there is nothing more fearful than that thought.
I'm sure that's true, Tim. If somebody wants to come off heroin, how do they start?
For me, it was beginning to learn about myself, which sounds a bit silly, but it was realizing it wasn't my fault, the mess I was in, and not that I blame my parents, because it's not that it wouldn't have been for them to resolve it in any case, but it was realizing that it wasn't my fault, that I wasn't as worthless as I thought I was. That was the start. Getting clean is just part of that, but understanding how you got in that state is, for me, or psychoanalysis is for me the only way that guarantees that you won't make the same mistake again.
Okay, Tim Morton and also Sarah Graham, thank you both for joining us on Lunchtime Live this afternoon.